Carol.
And I'm Carolyn.
And I teach high school English.
And I teach high school drama. And when we are not teaching, we are drama divas going around
to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York.
And seeing shows.
Whenever we can.
Right.
And this week, we would like to give a shout out, like we always do, to Grateful Bites in Flemington.
And if you want to know what these are for, they're starfish.
They are starfish.
Because we were down the shore.
Down the shore, and as we say in New Jersey, at the Surflight Theatre in Beach Haven.
Mm-hmm.
They are starfish, but they could also be a clue to what we saw.
Yes, it could be.
Right? We saw this show at Surflight that I'm going to tell you has moved up into one of my very top favorite shows.
I said to somebody this morning at my rehearsal, I was at a rehearsal for a show, I said to the kids today, this is my new favorite show.
Right.
New favorite show.
It's my second favorite. Spring Awakening is still my top.
Well, I'm going to say, so we saw Brightstar.
Brightstars.
And we saw Brightstar at Surflight. It is the musical that was nominated in 2016.
Right.
For Tony by Steve Martin and Edie Brickell.
And it is not what you think of when you think of a Broadway musical at all. And I think that's why I loved it so much.
Well, I can tell you why I loved it so much, because the music. So we were talking about this as we were leaving the show. It is bluegrass. It's definitely like a bluegrass sound. There's banjos. The band's on stage.
There's a banjo. There's a fiddle. There's guitars. There's a mandolin.
Right.
And
it's so different.
Yes.
But so is the story.
The story is very different. And the other thing is, the dancing. They do a lot of that two-step.
Right. It's very country dancing.
Yes.
And not like country music dancing. No. We're talking Appalachian kind of feel to it. Even though, you know how I get about these things. You saw the poster and you're like, oh, it's based on a true story. And I'm like, well, that's it. I have to go home and Google it because that's what I do. And I did. And so the story is so Edie Brickell basically found this story about the iron.
Now I gotta give a warning to anybody before you get.
It's gonna be a spoiler alert.
There's no way that we can talk about this show and not give away some spoilers. So.
Right, but if you go look at the show on the internet,
you're gonna see it
anyway on Wikipedia.
Right. And I saw Steve Martin talking about it, and he talked about all the spoilers.
So it's based on a true story about the Iron Mountain Baby, which was this situation in which a 5-day-old baby fell about 50 feet from a train into a big river in Irondale, Missouri. And the baby was found by a 72-year-old Civil War veteran. Okay? And he and his wife nursed the baby back to health and raised the baby. And they never found the mother. And so that's just, she got that glimpse of the story and thought, I could turn this into something.
And she turned it into something.
They turned it into something.
It is really incredible. And I got to be honest. So you start out in the beginning of the show with Alice, and this is Alice's story. And
I want to say, her name's Adrienne Hick. Well, first of all, it's nice to have this strong female character, which is what she is, and she plays herself at two different ages.
And so at the very first scene, she sings this song, I want to tell you my story, and you know that it's going to be sort of this reflection of her life, and when she started singing that song, I sort of groaned a little bit because I thought, ugh. I'm not a big fan of that, like that technique of when they start out here and then they go back here. But once she started singing,
if you knew my story, you'd have a hard time believing me. You'd think I was not joy and sorrow never last. I'll try not to live in the past.
that was it.
First of all, she was phenomenal. And the the person who Andrew Foote, who plays Jimmy Ray, who is her love interest.
Right.
Well, first of all, the chemistry between them was amazing, and
Right.
it turns out that
They're married.
They're actually married, which
Right.
is awesome.
Right.
They were so. I just
Well,
engrossed in this relationship,
Right.
this love between them.
Right, and you sort of see it. You know, she's playing this 30-something-year-old woman who is the editor for the Asheville Southern Journal.
Right.
And then you see her as a teenager. And this relationship she has with Jimmy Ray, whose father is the mayor of the town and is very influential. And there's plans for Jimmy Ray, right?
Right.
Like there are plans, and you see that Alice is not the girl that is going to follow the rules.
Right, and it goes back from 1923 to 1945-46.
Yeah.
Those 2 years. So they're both after the wars.
Right.
So.
But they do this number. It's the number. I had a vision.
Yeah.
And it's toward later in the show, and it's where Alice and Jimmy Ray knew already and wouldn't tell Alice the secret of the baby, and Alice finds out. So to kind of go back a little bit, Jimmy Ray and Alice have this affair. They passionately love each other. Neither of them ever marry as adults. She gets pregnant.
And she gets sent away
to a cabin
in the woods to have this baby.
Have the baby.
Right.
And she thinks she's going to keep the baby. And then her father and Jimmy Ray's father sort of scheme together to take the baby away. And she finds out what happens as an adult. She goes back, and she's been searching for the son. What was the son's name? Billy. She's been searching for Billy, all these years, and she finds out the secret of Billy, and they sing this song, "I Had a Vision," and she falls on the stage, and he is holding her, and they're singing this song, and I am not emotional, right? Like I don't cry in movies or books or anything, but I was like choked up.
I was, and there was that scene before when they're trying to convince her that she doesn't have to have this baby, where they were bringing the walls of the house in, and the walls are closing in on her.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was a great, like, we have to talk about Elizabeth Lucas, who was the director, because the way she utilized the space and had the actors sort of, well, first of all, when Billy comes home from the war, and he finds out his mother's dead, and his father had bought an angel, and so one of the actors is this angel at her grave.
Right.
And then these angels show up later on,
and these spirits kind of follow, and there's sort of this sort of surreal feeling to the whole show. The funny,
maybe I read too much into it, but I always feel like he comes home and his mother wanted him to find his real mother. I don't know. I read into that.
Okay. Well, I didn't see that, but
I thought, romance of that kind of story.
Well, and there's lots of romance.
Yeah.
Right? But to go to the angel, the part that you have these very serious moments, and then there's this real quick little comic relief, right?
Right.
So there's this moment where he's looking at that angel, and he said, "You would have hated this angel on your grave."
Right.
You know, like you said, don't ever do this. Why did he do this? And so you're sad, but you're not sad.
Well, and then I think the comic relief was also Daryl and Lucy in the office.
Yes.
And that was kind of, like, I saw a little bit of Steve Martin and Daryl, just the way.
Well, and it reminded me of those, those 40, like that Lauren Bacall.
Right.
Joan Blondell, those kinds of actresses who had that quick wit. They were kind of saucy, and there was
saucy. That's a great word, because he was saucy.
He was saucy, and usually you see it as a woman, but this time it was divided up between the two.
His name is Bobby Davis.
Yes,
and he actually is a senior
in college
at Marymount, Manhattan.
Yeah,
which I was very impressed, and we have a former student who's at Marymount too.
Well, but they sing this number, about, well, I can't think of the name of the number. It's something about getting drunk.
Yes.
Let's have another drink, or and they get Billy drunk, because Billy's this very wholesome, country boy, and they take him out and they get him drunk, and that whole scene is certainly comic relief, and it was very funny. It was very well done.
Right, because the way that Act 1 ended was through me.
Well, I knew it was coming.
I know,
And I didn't tell
that there.
I didn't tell you it was coming because you need the impact of it.
It threw me, and
Yeah.
it was absolutely. I couldn't wait for the rest of the musical to happen.
Well, and you know, at the end of Act 1, you know, in musicals, Act 1 usually ends with these big, huge ensemble numbers
Right.
where everybody's out on stage, and this is not that.
No.
You know, there's one. You know, it's Billy Ray's father,
Right.
by himself, and it ends. And when that scene ends, there's a gasp that goes across the audience, and everyone just
Do
sits.
you remember the Robbie Benson movie?
No.
There was a Robbie Benson movie where I think he jumps off the bridge, Tallahassee Bridge.
Oh, to Billy Joe.
Ode to Billy Joe. You know what this kind of reminded me of? Ode to Billy Joe.
Well, it reminded me of that book we just read that you liked and I didn't like.
Right.
Before We Were Yours.
But
Right.
I just thought about that movie.
That's like, well, do you know who sang Ode to Billy Joe? You know who
Who?
sang the song?
No.
Um,
You don't either,
I do.
so-
Bobby Gentry.
Oh.
Don't ask me how I know that.
Well, that's if you haven't seen that movie, it's a '70s movie, and I kind of liked Robbie Benson, so it was a little risque, but it's that same, you know, the girl is in love with the boy that the father doesn't want. The girl's not good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough for
Right.
that boy, and so that's kind of what the story is, and then she ends up being super successful.
Yeah.
As
Well,
a-
you know, and those the whole show is moving back and forth in time.
Right.
You're constantly moving back and forth,
Which
and
I love.
I liked it too, and normally I don't. Right. Normally
Right.
I just want to be in one place and stay in one place. I don't need to be time traveling, but they did this well.
The ensemble in this production was phenomenal because everybody there's all these little characters. You've got Billy's father,
Right.
You've got
Alice's parents.
Alice's parents, the mayor,
Margot, who's the
oh yeah, Margot. I
who's the
loved her
book shop
too.
owner.
Jenny Stodd. She was just lovely.
Yeah.
She was lovely. Like she was. It wasn't overdone. You just liked her.
You liked her.
You liked her.
She was just right. And she's sort of patiently waiting for Billy to go out into the world and find himself.
Right.
And
She is.
And
like,
she waits. Like there's a part of where he talks about when was the first time I kissed you, and she said it was when I was 6 and you were
Right.
on a dare and you ran away. Right. So for since they were 6, she's been waiting. And Max Myers, who played Billy,
Yeah.
was just.
I loved him.
He was just this sort of wholesome, all-American boy, and you had seen him. I hadn't seen him in Little Women at the Eagle, but you saw him in
I
Little
did see him in Little Women at the Eagle.
At the Eagle, and you know he's. There's nothing not to like about him as a character.
There was nothing not to like about any of these characters.
Well, some of the characters you don't like,
right,
not
but
the
I'm
actors,
saying-
the characters.
But I'm saying, like overall, I was so engrossed in the story, and the music was just so refreshing to
Yes.
sit and listen to this music, which I am listening now to the soundtrack because I love the music.
Right. But it and that sort of brings me to this sort of point, and I'm going to kind of get on a little soapbox here, though. This show did not do well when it was on Broadway, right?
Which is a shame.
It's a shame,
It is a shame.
unfortunately, and it didn't because it's not what people go to New York and they want to see Phantom, or they want to see Hello Dolly, or they want to see My Fair Lady or Frozen or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with that because I want to go see all those too,
Right.
Right, but sometimes you got to take a chance,
Right.
And this theater, Surflight, allows you to go see something you may never have picked to go
Right.
see.
This show is running till September 9th.
Right.
And I would like to go back and see this
And see
show.
it again. And
I would.
this is if you want to take a chance,
Right.
then take a chance. Like go up and see it. We had a great little dinner at
Yes,
this
even
restaurant.
though Siri told
Siri
told us that the restaurant was fairly pricey, and we shouldn't be there.
We should pick somewhere else, which
By the way, it wasn't fairly pricey.
it wasn't.
And it was delicious.
Awesome. Yeah, Howard's. It was awesome.
Right.
It was
And
really
there's
awesome.
tons of restaurants.
Right.
You've got seafood restaurants, and you've got
Ice cream
and Italian restaurants, and they have their own ice cream
cream.
parlor,
Yep.
which is right there at the theater where they have singing waiters.
Right, and we talked about that before. It's sort of like Ellen's in New York, right?
Right.
But you don't have to go to New York to still have this really great
Right, because this was
theater.
a really, really strong cast. And Steve Steiner,
Yeah,
who is the artistic director,
has a
and
role.
he plays the mayor, and it's quite the role. And
It's
he
quite
was
the role.
great. He's
Yeah.
got a fabulous voice.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
fabulous voice.
Right, and you know, the sets are simple, but they're effective. There's there's a couple of scenes where they're on trains and they are synchronized, with their
with the
swaying on the boxes, and it
Yeah.
was just,
there wasn't one piece of this show that I didn't like.
no,
Not one.
No. And it's sad, but it's not.
But it's not sad because it doesn't end sad.
No, it ends.
It has a happy happy ending,
indeed.
which this story, he never finds his mother. So what they did was they turned this almost into a fairy tale and
Right.
with a happy ending, which
Right.
I thought was wonderful.
Yeah. I can't. I'm like you. I'm like trying to figure out between now and next weekend or the weekend after if there's time for me to go back and see it again. Yeah.
And Adrian, I just want to say this again. Adrian Hick, who plays Alice. Wow.
Right.
Just wow.
Right.
Like
this is her show. Like
yes.
you want to talk about a bright star? She is the bright star.
She was just phenomenal.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about this show.
No, I can't either. I'm hoping that people will see it and then let us know if it's as good as they think it is.
I think it is as good as they think it is.
Yeah.
And go to Surflight, go see the show, have dinner. Don't listen to Siri if they tell you
It's
that
rather pricey.
Rather pricey because it's not. And get down there before the end of the summer and see this production because this is my new favorite show.
Right. Well, it's my second favorite. I told you.
Well,
nothing's ever going to top Spring Awakening for me.
It might happen someday, but we don't know.
But this is right up there. Like
Awesome.
this is right up there.
Yeah.
So can I eat my Brightstar now?
Yes, you can eat your
Okay.
Brightstar.
All right.
I'm going to eat my Brightstar too.
Okay.
And until the next time, break a leg. Oh, this looks really crazy good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lemon.
It's key lime.
Ooh.
I told you it was key lime.